And the flesh became Word. I think that sums up St. Dominic. The flesh became Word. There was nothing about him which didn't speak of God. And both in his life and in his prayer life, we see that. How it was said of him that he either spoke to God or about God. The flesh had become Word. Born in Calaruega, a tiny town on the huge plain of Castile, the life he envisaged, and probably his family envisaged for him, looked set. He went to university nearby, Palencia, and he then became a canon regular of a cathedral nearby at Osma. You can still see his stall where he sat as a canon. No one else has ever sat in it. It still carries his name, Saint Dominic. 3 little places, Calaruega, Palencia, Osma, north of Madrid. And that would have been his life, within a few miles from where he'd been born. But then God showed him a bigger world and made it his world. And step by step, as there was no big plan, hearing what the world needed and what the church needed, he gradually started to travel, first with his bishop, Bishop Diego, then on his own and with a band of followers, and the women he gathered, first of all, in what would become monasteries of women. And although there is no monastery of Dominican nuns in Britain, it's wonderful to see our Dominican sisters here with us this morning. And from those 3 little places north of Madrid, he traveled, crisscrossed all his life, what we now call Spain, France, Italy, Germany, and perhaps a little further. The flesh had become Word, which means communication. Word means to relate, to bring knowledge, to bring love. And that's what he did. And as he lived, so he prayed, and as he prayed, so he lived. We know his prayer life from a precious little account written after his life by people who'd watched him, in some ways spied on him. As he prayed, he thought, privately and secretly. These are generally called the 9 ways of prayer. And there you see the bodliness of it all in those ways of prayer. The agitation of the body, the dialogue with God, even spoken aloud, especially when reading the gospel, the movements of his body into different shapes to express the journey into God of his soul. And as he prayed, he lived, and as he lived, he prayed. And that became a hallmark of Dominican theology, that the body matters, that it's precious, that it's under constant attack, that it's destined to be raised bodily. But even now, our respect for who we are, embodied souls, makes us never despise or distort the bodies of others, the souls of others. And so Dominic then, in the last of those ways of prayer, we see him on the road with a companion, fraternal always. And he always stepped back as they walked, tramped across Europe, crisscrossing Europe, bringing the gospel. And there he would take his embodied soul to its highest pitch. He would meditate, he would contemplate. There is no higher human activity than contemplation. Today then, we honor this saint who makes us ask of ourselves, not just what does my life say about me, but what does my life say about God? He prayed as he lived as he prayed.